In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at SunskyMysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are and how you're watching us. My name is Bill Zam. Welcome to another exciting, thrill-packed episode of Surrounded by Idiots. We are the Saline Entertainment Television Group, LLC, as well as the Michigan League of Fed Up Citizens. I am here, of course, wearing my heart monitor equipment right here. All my heart monitor stuff is on once again. You may hear a brief beeping sound during the show. That means that my heart rate is getting up out of range, and that's a good way to tell when a story is upsetting me a little bit too much. Now, let's go to our first story, but first, I am sure that a lot of people wonder exactly how we do all of this. Because if you watched our previous shows, you know we got people, interviewees that come on the air and we talk to the people and we get them going. And unlike a lot of internet shows, a lot of the your basic YouTube shows and shows that you watch on YouTube and things like that, as you can tell, we have taken some extra time and effort to make the quality of what we bring you a little bit above what you normally find. We've spent a lot of money on our little credenza in the back. We got some nice flashing lights and things like that, I think. Yep, there's a couple lights flashing back there on the hard drives. What we do is we have actually 3 computers running right now. I have a laptop that is the audio server that sends you all of the music and everything like this. And what I try to do is I try to do this basically like you would have a radio station set up. We have a production computer, we have the audio computer, and we have the streaming computer, which is what you're watching right now if you happen to be watching live. The way that we do it, when you see the me right now, we are broadcasting using a service that's called Dacast, D-A-C-A-S-T. They're based in San Francisco. They're a great company. I can't say enough about them. They're inexpensive for streaming. If you go and look at a lot of your streaming options, the ones that are free, they're always going to have an ad or something. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to have an ad for somebody else's company to make somebody else money so that we can try to make money with our television network here. So, what we use is we use Dacast. You can buy the bandwidth that you use as you use it, and it is relatively inexpensive. You're watching me through Dacast right now. We are using the Washington, D.C. server on the east coast of the United States. We can also choose one in Europe, or we can choose one on the West Coast. On the West Coast, we can't stream quite as fast because it's farther away. Information has to go through too many servers on the internet to get to where it's going. So we use the one in Washington, D.C. Now, the software that we use to stream, there's a couple of different flavors, if you will. Actually, 3 different flavors. There's the Apple type of broadcasting. Obviously, if you have a Windows PC, you can't use that. There is also the Windows Media Encoder. You can use that. That works pretty good. But places like Doccast do not support that. They support flash streaming. That's what you're watching right now, is you're watching a flash stream. There's other brands of software that are pretty expensive. We use some software that is called, hold on just a minute, it is called XSplit. You want to look up this company. If you want to do any streaming, any local recording, do anything like this sort of stuff right here, that, or go to that, or go to a full screen, or even having titles and stuff like you can see right here, and you can see right down here, and over in the corner you can see my hand behind the network logo. You can make it semi-transparent. Basically anything you can do at a television station you can do through XSplit. It's kind of pricey. You get a 2-year license, and that's what I did when I started the show. I signed up with them. Now the screen that you see here with the show notes on it, you can see I've made some changes to the show notes, and you can see it goes like this. I can show you different websites and stuff that we happen to have up, like this story from the Blaze right here, that sort of thing. It works very well. What we are doing, we have I'm experimenting tonight with a new type of service. It is basically an online service, and I'm not too worried about the bandwidth, because when I'm streaming the screen from the computer that's over here, this monitor that you see here, this is the computer that streams the screen, and then over here is the actual video production monitor. This is why I'm always looking over here during the show to see what's going on, and I'm always looking over here too to see what's going on. And I'll be right and left for those of you listening on the audio archive version of the show. We use a bit of software by NCH. They're a company down in Australia. They have a thing called ScreenStream, and it's a little application that runs on the computer that you want to stream the screen from to other computers on your network or on the internet, but the clarity of it is not very good. Tonight, I started using a service from a new company. It is called, right here, it is called ScreenLeap.com. That's ScreenLeap.com. It is apparently a new company. They allow you to stream your screen for free, believe it or not. So during the show, if I wanted to share the screen on the screen stream, you could open up a second tab on your browser, and you could have the show notes up on your computer and follow along while I'm doing the show. And once we get our chat back up, you can be part of the show. And the way that works is like this. You click on the browser where it says, here, let me zoom in on this, right here on their screen. You can see there's a thing right there that says, share your screen now. And you can do that. Let me see here. Let me go back to the reset. There we go. And then you get another screen that comes up right there. And this little bit of code right here, right there, all you have to do is enter that into your browser, and the show notes, the screen that you're seeing right now, will come up on your web browser along with the broadcast. It's pretty cool stuff. I can have you go to the actual ScreenLeap.com and enter this particular code, and you will be able to actually see what's on the screen right here. Here it comes. Cancel. Okay, hold on one second. There we go. It's problematical at this point. I believe it is working okay, but who knows? It's a new bit of technology I'm trying to incorporate into the show so that the audience can be a little bit more involved in the show, because I know a lot of you like to chat and ask me questions and things like that. So, but for that, you have to be at our streaming page over on USSA Michigan. Right down there in the corner, USSA Michigan. So, let's get on with the show. Now, you know, this time of year, especially during a presidential election, it's gets to be kind of silly time, especially if one particular candidate starts doing a lot better than they were in the past, like we have right now with Mitt Romney against Barack Obama. The other side, especially when you're talking about some of the people on in the media these days, they kind of get a little bit crazy. And that actually happened right here in Michigan. You see, Paul Ryan came to Michigan yesterday. He's a vice presidential candidate on the Republican side. And he had an event in the Detroit area, and Kid Rock was there. Kid Rock, believe it or not, has endorsed Mitt Romney, because he says what these other people are doing is absolutely insane. They're screwing up the whole deal for everybody else. So Kid Rock has thrown his support behind Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, and he was there at the Paul Ryan event. And then Paul Ryan went up to Flint, Michigan, the armpit of Michigan. And it brings us our first story. When it comes to politics and journalism at this time of the year, I wrote this, by the way, close to the election, it seems that instability is increased by a factor of 4. At least in Flint, Michigan, 90 miles or so away from this reporter. In actually, what direction is it in? It's in that general direction right there, towards the camera. That's the general direction that Flint is from our broadcast studio. At least in Flint, Michigan, 90 or so miles away from this reporter in that general direction, Paul Ryan swung on by into the den of vipers and partook in a nice little interview after his campaign appearance. I always loved, I was a reporter a long time ago. I had my own newspaper. I had one of the first newspapers on the internet back in the early 90s, like 1991 is when we first started publishing. It was called the Ypsilanti Community Information Service. New kid on the block. I would go out, cover a story. Half an hour later, it was on the internet. Sometimes even less. These days, I could do the stories live with the equipment that I have. It was absolutely phenomenal. At any rate, I always loved to interview big political names because during campaign season, they come all over the place, and every week I went to a local political meeting, and the guy that was running it, he was a pretty big name in the political realm, and he would always invite these big names to come in, and they'd come in, and I would get to interview them. I always loved to interview big political names when I was doing my beat reporting. The chance to interview someone one-on-one in an interview like that, in a one-on-one setting, is one of the chances to actually get to know these people. That's why I loved it so much. The people that you see, the way they're portrayed on television, is always completely different from the way they are in person, because they have their public persona and then they have their private persona. And when you're in a one-on-one situation like you and I sitting right here in the broadcast studio right here, in a one-on-one situation, people are far more relaxed. They're more likely to tell you what they really think, how they really feel, and everything else. Well, there at the interview, there was apparently the air up there is a little thin, because the reporter had what only can be described as a sort of meltdown, and Paul Ryan was neither buying it nor did he have the time for it. TheBlaze.com has the story for us right here. I kind of like this new screen streaming thing because I'm looking at the clarity on the broadcast software, and it was pretty darn clear. It's a lot clearer than the other one. A seemingly routine. This is from TheBlaze.com, by the way. theblaze.com. A seemingly routine interview with WJRT in Flint, Michigan was abruptly ended after GOP vice presidential nominee Paul Ryan and his team got frustrated with the interviewer's attempt to stuff words in people's mouths. The interview had already run over when Ryan and company shut it down, according to a campaign spokesman. The interview begins, innocently enough, with a few questions about gun laws in the United States. And here is a quote from Paul Ryan. I can't actually imitate his voice, so I'm not going to. What we've learned, if we just put more gun laws in place, it doesn't actually stop criminals. Look at Chicago and Washington, D.C. from getting guns. I injected that. Let me start over again. What we've learned, if we just put more gun laws in place, it doesn't actually stop criminals from getting guns and committing these crimes, Ryan said. This is why we need economic growth, and that's why we need education reform. Because in a robust economic situation, unlike what we have now, more people are going to have jobs, obviously. More people are going to be working. There is going to be a better social structure in the country, less need or opportunity for crime, as it were. I believe that's what he's saying. Now I'm putting words in his mouth, but if I understand where he's coming from in this particular interview, you're actually going to have to go to the Blaze and watch the interview. The video of it is up there. Ryan also argued that the nation needs to be focused on solving the problems of civil society. The interviewer asks, does this country have a gun problem? This country has a crime problem, Ryan replied. Not a gun problem? The interviewer asked again. Ryan went on to explain that not even President Obama is talking about implementing more gun laws. He said the country's existing laws just need to be enforced. The best thing, this is a quote from Ryan again, the best thing to help prevent violent crime in the inner cities is to bring opportunity to the inner cities. Well, I didn't even read this article before we went on the air, and apparently I was right. Is to help teach people good discipline, good character. That is civil society. That is what charities and civic groups and churches do to help one another make sure they can realize the value to one another. And the interviewer asks, out of nowhere, I've seen this. This is absolutely insane. And you can all do all that with by cutting taxes with a big tax cut? Ryan says, those are your words, not mine. Immediately after the tax cut question, someone off camera interrupts the interview, and Ryan gets up from his chair and begins taking off his microphone. He then looked to his interviewer and said, that was kind of strange. You trying to stuff words in people's mouths? The local reporter does his best to defend himself, however. His speech is rather inaudible as he attempts to assemble a sentence. I don't know if that's strange, he said. To be sure, though, he was obviously annoyed by the strange and random question. Now, Ryan didn't lose his temper, and that is not exactly what happened. The guy was saying, you have to watch the interview to really understand what the guy was saying, but it was more along the line, so if we cut taxes, there'll be less of a gun problem, when Ryan didn't say that at all. It's at theblaze.com. The link is in the show notes. We will always have the show notes up on the archive page. Let's go to our next story, close that, which is a follow-up from the ABC 12 WJRT news director regarding the interview with the Flint reporter. When it comes to, this is from mlive.com. That's mlive.com. They were actually one of my competitors when I had my online newspaper. When it comes to the internet buzz over ABC's 12 interview with Paul Ryan, WJRT Channel 12 news director Jane Hodiak said more is being made out of this than it is. So apparently, And it also goes on to say that Hodak and others with ABC-12 were unable to be reached for comment about the story. So the news director essentially said, guess what, there's not as much here as you would think, and then kindly decided not to talk to anybody. The links, of course, they're right there in the show notes. That will be at USSAMichigan.com. Now, as you know from previous shows, over the past life or so, I've been through a lot, as you guys know if you've been watching the show rather frequently. So there are subjects that I pay a lot of attention to. One of the subjects that I think most people pay a lot of attention to is what are called NDEs, or near-death experiences. When a story or an article comes along about the subject, I have a tendency to pay attention to it, as many other people do. Over the past couple of days, I've been seeing a bunch of stories that usually go, top neurosurgeon has NDE. What's interesting about this is that most of the so-called articles of the 20 or so search results that I checked, only one had any written information, which is weird that Google returns search results from their YouTube site before what you would think would be returned, the written word. Oh well, it's their business model, and they can attempt to shape society into whatever warped deviancy that they want to, I suppose. At any rate, while doing a search for more information, I came across a PDF of a flyer for a continuing event about the near-death experience and people that have them. Big people, economists, scientists, doctors, I think some people in the media. Usually, there's money involved. You always follow the money when you're trying to get to the bottom or do research on anything like this. Not so much in this case. They suggest a $5 donation at the door and won't turn a people away if they decide not to donate. That's big, folks. Real big. That right there sets this far above other so-called spiritual or life experience or even Christian speakers. I can't count the number of times I have seen an outrageous entrance fee for a lecture or event. Because of this, I have virtually no problem sending you to the neurosurgeon site to learn more about his experience and the subject, which is right here at lifebeyonddeath.net. That's lifebeyonddeath.net. This is the guy's site right here. The guy's name is Eben Alexander, E-B-E-N Alexander. He is a doctor. He is a neurosurgeon. He has written a book called Proof of Heaven, A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife. The guy is a doctor. He has written a book. He has videos and everything at his website, and I highly suggest that you go and look it up. lifebeyonddeath.net. If you're at all interested in the near-death experience, this type of article might be, or book, or website might be a good good way to go. Now, I want to go on to something else, and that is how exactly you research something like this, because I was, while I was researching this took a good 45 minutes to an hour to do to track all this stuff down. I mean, you put the stuff in, and the only thing that comes up is YouTube videos and discussion groups like Godlike Productions, Above Top Secret, things like that. So, and they're all quoting the same thing, and they're all showing the same video. So you're not getting any real information about the guy himself. So you can be forgiven if you think that it's a money-making scheme or something like that. But when these people, a whole group of these people, are only charging $5 to get in to see to listen to their lectures, and at the same time, you don't even have to. It's just a suggested donation. I mean, you can donate $500 if you want to, or the $5 or $1. It's up to you, or you can just walk in and not give them any money at all. It's very unusual these days to see something like that. I'd certainly like to do some more research about where they're doing the lectures and what type of a place this is that they're doing the lectures at. At any rate, the first story brings me to an actual point in all of this nattering, which is this. When you are researching a subject or person, there are actual steps that are taken as well as a lot of seat-of-the-pants decisions that are made during the process. It's a learning experience. After a while, you learn what's BS and what isn't BS, what's disinformation and what is real information. There are plenty of stories that I myself don't cover. Believe me, I see hundreds of stories. Obviously, I can't cover it on the show in the limited time that we have, but if I could, if I had the stamina and the time to be on the air for like 3 hours, I could fill the entire 3 hours with virtually no problem every single night. But there are plenty of stories that I just don't cover simply because of the lack of credibility behind them makes the whole story kind of hinky. The steps to take to research something are fairly simple in writing, but very time-consuming in practice. So I'm just going to kind of give you a little walkthrough on this. So, if you're more happy being a sheep destined to be a fine meal on someone's table, go back to the Fritos and your idiot box. Don't even bother listening any further. If not, let's talk for a minute about research. When you come across a story, you need verification or vetting of that story. And, folks, believe me, most of these YouTube videos that you see, they don't tell you how they vetted the story that they're covering. They're not telling you the steps, where they went, who they talked to. They got a story. They got you some crappy screenshots of some website somewhere or something. They don't even tell you where it's at or anything else. They're just trying to blow through the thing in 5 minutes. You can't, 90% of the time, don't trust these things. Do your own research. Watch the video, sure. Okay? I'm not telling you not to watch the YouTube videos, but take it with a grain of salt. Like this show. Take this show with a grain of salt. Do your own research. That's why I put my show notes up on the archive page on USSAMichigan.com so that you can do your own research. So let's get back to the show notes here. Obviously, when you read something or watch a video, you need to take the steps to make sure the deal is real. So, step one is to run a search. Most people cannot afford a LexisNexis account. And I'm not even sure what this link goes to. Let's find out. Okay, that's the LexisNexis website. You can see there's a picture of a nice reporter attempting to get to the bottom of a story, and the chick next to him looks like she's not believing the crap that the guy that they're interviewing is putting out. But they offer targeted solutions. In other words, I know for a pretty good fact that people like Rush Limbaugh use LexisNexis to do a lot of their research because they aggregate information from all over the place. So you can't afford a LexisNexis account. So being bombarded and giving up your privacy so that both advertisers and the government can track your every move to supply you with the advertising and terrorist activities database entries is your dish of revenge. So, most times, depending on where you come across the article, you will, in fact, get some pretty crappy search results. That means that when you use a search engine, okay, they're tracking what you search, where you go, and everything. And in case you haven't noticed it, all of a sudden, the ads that you see on websites, oh, hey, that happens to be a product that I happen to be looking for. Like if you do a search through Google for, say, hunting knives, all of a sudden you're being bombarded by hunting knife and sporting good ads all over the place. That's one of the things that they do as their business model. That's how they make money. They got to stay in business. They're a company. Google doesn't, they give you the search for free, but there's a downside to it. But there are a lot of search engines out there. There's, let me see here. Let's go back to the show notes. My point of view is that when that first search is done, you'll see a bunch of monkey see, monkey do links where there are duplicates of duplicates and virtually the same information. So the next step is to spin the web. Try different search engines not powered by Google or Yahoo. Which ones are up to you? Of course, you'll get the same results. So the next step is to dig deeper. Take parts of the subject, the name of the person the article is about. If it's a military subject, the branch or base or officer's name. See, a lot of people don't do stuff like that. They see an article at one of the websites and they don't bother to do their own vetting. If you got to try to find a name, if you can find a, the recent story about all of the military bases being evacuated, or even better, the supposed Chinese U.S. Navy UFO battle off of the coast of San Francisco. I saw that and I'm like, something's going on here. Yeah, okay, they're having a UFO battle out off of the San Francisco Bay. Okay, whatever. So I started doing some research. I found out that the Canadian Coast Guard and Navy, I think they got a couple of rowboats, the United States Navy and Coast Guard were all having a joint exercise at that time, so there was a tremendous amount of naval activity off the coast, and that explained it. And I don't have the photographs handy, but I'll tell you that the photograph that the supposed source purveyed as proof actually turned out to be a Navy, U.S. Navy, stock photo that had been photoshopped. It was almost 35 years old. They picked a photo from that far back because nobody would bother to check that deep. I did, and it put an end to the story. But it was a good story. So the next step is to dig deeper. Take parts of the subject, the name of the person, yada, yada, yada. The effect of all this is that unlike when you start looking for a recipe on cookies and wind up looking at fart lighting videos, you have to shape shift your research and not let yourself be derailed in your efforts. And what I mean by that is we all know what it's like to get on the internet, you're looking for a cookie recipe, and a half an hour later you're watching fart lighting videos and laughing your butt off when that wasn't even what you were what you were there to find out about. That's the way the internet is. Everybody's noticed it. Sometimes it's funny. You start out looking for one thing and you wind up playing a card game someplace or something. It's one of the things that you have to be careful of when you are on the internet. If you're researching something, you don't let yourself be distracted. That's what half the crap out there is nothing but a bunch of distractions. Now, this story, this one has me getting my high horse out of the barn for a quick ride of commentary. If you have small children and they are definitely sick and experiencing such constant and bad symptoms, and you know for a fact that there is methane and whatever else being emitted into the air beyond any doubt, wouldn't you find a way to get out and then try to get compensation afterward? Wouldn't you? If you were a parent and you saw your kids are getting sick, and you yourself were getting sick because of something in the environment around you, like outside of our broadcast studio, if I had little kids and all of a sudden the gas main broke and the gas main was leaking for a week and the kids were getting sick, wouldn't you get out of there? Grab your tent and go camping or something? Get the hell out of there. Wouldn't you do that? I know I would, no matter what, and then look for the compensation afterwards. You got to keep your kids safe. Well, this story is about a young lady that her name is Alicia Heilig, Heilig. She is a young mother. She is down there by Assumption Parish, where the sinkhole is. There's gas and everything else bubbling up out of there. And the article by Deborah Dupree, she is a human rights reporter, which is a good thing. Even though I'm a conservative, I would say a human rights reporter is a good thing. If I had the emotional stability, if I could do it, I would. I would be a human rights reporter. I would go all over the world and document the suffering that people have. But I just couldn't take it. I'd wind up crying all the time. It wouldn't be a good report if I'm standing there crying into the camera. Not that I've ever done that before. What she says is, I don't understand why the government has not ordered mandatory evacuation for a wide radius of that area of Louisiana. But I also don't understand how any mother could allow her small children to continue to be so obviously sick, knowing full well what's causing it, and not get them out of there. Today, near the latest Bayou Corn sinkhole area bubbling site, resides Alicia Halig. Hopefully I pronounced her name right. Her two children and mother, suffering burning eyes, nausea, constant dull headaches, and other signs of being poisoned, with no emergency aid, and cannot evacuate from the life-threatening area. But I read in the article, they apparently they don't explain exactly why she can't leave. Maybe she can't afford it. Maybe she doesn't have a car. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out my butt on this. I don't know. I haven't actually talked to the young lady. I can only go by what I read in this particular article, and it is at theexaminer.com, theexaminer.com. And let me make myself clear before somebody starts sending me emails and the NSA comes knocking at the door. If you have kids, and your kids are, what's happening to these people is happening to your kids, you would make every effort to get out. Get a bus ticket. Walk if you have to. Ride your bicycles. There's got to be a way for these people to get out of there, and it's difficult for me to believe that the situation is so bad that they have virtually no way to get out. I just can't get my head around that. I'm not sure if that's true. I doubt if it is. So if somebody knows what the situation is, go ahead and email us at the show. Now, let me see here. We have a last story for tonight, and then you can read the rest of everything up on the show archive page. It also about this information about this mother and her kids. It continues to amaze me and upset me that the mainstream media is not covering this at all. This should be the lead story on every single news show. This is Katrina-like in its scope and its consequences, and nobody is covering it except those of us in the alternative media. That is criminal in nature, in my view, that they're not covering it. Now, this last story is could be about some Chinese hackers preparing for a kill shot, a bad case of programming, or preparing for a big false flag event. Kudos to CNBC for covering this. It's a type of denial of service attack, a DDoS, that is taking up bandwidth, and it is doing nothing at all. Let's take a look at the article at CNBC. A mysterious algorithm was 4% of all trading on Wall Street last week. Now, you get that? They use computer programs to do trading and things like that. That's how some people make money. Day traders, stuff like that. Companies, that's investment houses. That's how they make money. They have computer programs, and the stock does this, you sell it. When the stock does this, you buy it, and yada yada. 4%, an entire 4% of all trading activity on Wall Street last week was done by this algorithm. Let's look into that just a little bit more. This is by John Malloy, executive producer, Fast Money and Halftime. Again, this is at CNBC.com. You want to go there and read this article. A single mysterious computer program that placed orders and then canceled them made up 4% of all quote traffic in the U.S. stock market last week, according to a top tracker of high-frequency trading activity. The move of the algorithm is unclear. The program placed orders in 25 millisecond bursts involving 500 stocks, according to Nanex, a market data firm. The algorithm never executed a single trade, and it abruptly ended at 10:30 a.m. on Friday. It just goes to show you how one person can have such an outsized impact on the market, said Eric Hunsater, head of Nanex and the #1 detector of trading anomalies, watching Wall Street today. The exchanges are not monitoring this stuff. Hunsater's sonar picked up that this was a single high-frequency trader after seeing the program's pattern: 200 fake quotes, then 400, then 1,000, repeated over and over. Also, it was being routed from the same place, the NASDAQ. My guess is that the algorithm was testing the market as high frequency does, said John Najarian, co-founder of TradeMonster.com. As soon as they add bandwidth, the HFT crowd sees how quickly they can top out to create latency. Translated, that means the ultimate goal of many of these programs is to gum up the system so it slows down the quote feed to others and allows computer traders with their co-located servers and the exchanges to gain money-making arbitrage opportunity. In other words, what some of these people do is they set up one of these little programs that goes flitting around, eating up bandwidth, so that if you're sitting at home trying to get quotes, your quotes are delayed because it's eating up so much bandwidth on the computer network that's running the stock market. But these other companies, these other traders, they have computer servers right in the New York Stock Exchange. So they're getting instant quotes. So they plug up the works on the outside, and they can make their trades on the inside faster than you can, and they can make more money, basically locking out the little guy. Or this could have been some type of denial of service attack from probably some Chinese hacker, because we know they're trying to get into the systems. So go and read the article at CNBC. It'll be up on the show notes over there at the archive site, ussamichigan.com. And as you can tell, my voice is starting to leave me, so I am going to leave you. So until probably tomorrow night, I want to thank everybody for showing up, if anybody happens to be watching live, because we came on the air 2 hours early. But have no fear, we're going to play this at 7 o'clock, so people will think it's actually live. And I see I've got the wrong date up on the screen there, right up there. That's the wrong date. Forgot about that. Sorry. At any rate, my name is Bill Zam. Thank you for showing up, and we will see everybody on our next broadcast. Have a good night.